Everyone keeps asking the same question: is Vancouver a buyer's market or is it starting to recover? I think both descriptions are becoming too simplistic because what I'm seeing on the ground is something different. This is becoming a negotiation market, a market where asking price is only the beginning of the conversation, where buyers may negotiate not only on the price, but also on the deposit, completion date, subjects, repairs, critics, and even what stays with the property, and where sellers may still have leverage. But only when their home is priced properly, presented well, and attract enough to make buyers afraid of losing it. So in this video, I'm going to explain what a negotiation market actually looks like, why it is happening right now, and now buyers and sellers can use it without making a very expensive mistake. Because negotiating successfully is not only the same as simply offering less money, and accepting the highest price is not always the best decision for the seller. Why negotiation has become so important? There are 3 reasons this is happening. First, buyers have more information and more choices. They can compare a listing with active competitions, recent sales, price reductions, days on market, strata documents, inspection findings, and sometimes even previous listing history. When buyers see several similar properties available, they feel less pressure to compromise. Second, many sellers still remember this stronger market. They may know what their neighbors sold for a certain price 2 or 3 years ago. They may still be anchored to that number. Even though mortgage rates, affordability, inventory, and buyer confidence have all changed. This creates a gap between what buyers believe a property is worth and what the seller believes what they should receive. And third, neither side is always under immediate pressure. Some buyers are willing to continue renting. Some sellers can withdraw the listing and wait. So instead of one side surrendering immediately, both sides test each other. This is exactly where negotiation becomes important. The market may tell us the general direction, but the negotiation decides the actual results. Now let's begin with an important distinction. A true buyer's market usually means buyers have widespread leverage. There are too many homes for sale, demand's weak, properties sits for a long time. Sounds familiar? And sellers eventually becoming more willing to reduce their expectations. We certainly have some of those conditions in parts of Greater Vancouver. Inventory remains elevated. Buyers have more selections. Many listings are taking longer to sell. And prices are below where they were over a year ago. But that does not mean every buyer can walk into every negotiation and demand a massive discount. Because the market is extremely property specific. A dated condo with high strata fee, upcoming special levy, and several competing listings in the same building may give the buyer substantial leverage. But a well-renovated family home with quiet street, functional layout, and very little comparable inventory may still be interested to a lot of buyers. Those 2 properties could be located only 15 minutes apart, yet the negotiations may look completely different. This is why I will not describe Vancouver today as one single market. The leverage changes depending on the property, the neighborhood, the seller's motivations, and the competition around that listing. Many people think negotiation means one thing: buyer offer below asking, and the seller either accepts or counter. But in real estate, price is only one part of the package. Let's say 2 buyers make offers on the same property. Buyers A offers $10,000 more, but needs to sell their home subject to sale, asking for a longer subject removal period, and wants a completion date that doesn't really work with the seller. Buyers B offers slightly less, but has financing ready, a larger deposit, fewer uncertainties, and can accommodate the seller's preferred dates. Depending on the seller's priorities, buyer B may actually have the stronger offer. The same principle applies when there's only one buyer. A seller may refuse a large price reduction, but agrees to leave certain furnitures, provide a repair credit, accommodate a later completion, or allow more time for due diligence. The final sales price, of course, is important, but the overall terms determine how much risk and inconvenience each side is accepting. Sophisticated negotiation looks at the entire contract, not just the number on the top. For buyers, the current market actually creates several opportunities. The most obvious part is price. If a property has been sitting for a long time, has already reduced its price, or is competing against several similar listings, the seller may be more flexible. But a buyer needs evidence. Offering $50,000 below asking simply because the market is slow is not the strategy. A stronger negotiation explains, here are the most relevant recent sales. Here are the competing listings. Here is the condition of the property. And here are the costs that a buyer will need to absorb after completing. Buyers may also negotiate conditions. In a highly competitive market, buyers are often pressured to shorten or remove subjects. Today, depending on the property, buyers can have more room to conduct an inspection, review financing, read the strata document carefully, and confirm insurance. They may also negotiate dates. A flexible completion or possession date can have meaningful value to a seller. And if an inspection identifies a legitimate issue, the parties may negotiate repair, a credit, or a price adjustment. However, this does not mean reopening the contract over and over again over cosmetic imperfections. Good negotiation focuses on material concerns, not on trying to win every minor point. The biggest buyer mistake in a negotiation market is confusing leverage with entitlement. More inventory does not mean every seller is desperate. A buyer may submit an extremely low offer, expecting the seller to panic. But if the offer is not supported by comparable sales or property-specific concerns, the seller may simply stop engaging. And once the negotiation becomes emotional, it can be very difficult to bring both sides back to the table. Another mistake is focusing so aggressively on the discount that a buyer eventually loses the right property. Saving another $10,000, of course, feels great. But losing out on a home that genuinely fits your family, budget, location, and long-term plans may cost more than the amount you're trying to save. The objective should not be to tell everyone that you defeated the seller. The objective is to purchase the right property on the terms that protects you and make financial sense. Sellers also need a different strategy in a negotiation market. Their first rule is to create leverage before the offer arrives. That means pricing the home based on current competition, not on a past market, not on neighbor's asking price, and not on how much you're hoping to achieve. It also means making the home easy to choose. Cleanness, presentation, photography, access for showing, and accurate information all matter when buyers have alternatives. A seller with a desirable, well-positioned property can negotiate from strength. A seller who starts too high and accumulates months on the market may eventually receive an offer but negotiate from weakness. The second rule is to evaluate the buyer, not only the price. How secure is the financing? How much is the deposit? What subjects are included? Are the dates workable? Does the buyer need to sell another property? And how likely is this transaction going to complete? An offer is not valuable merely because the first page contains attractive numbers. It's valuable when the buyer can actually close on the agreed terms. The biggest seller mistake is treating every offer below asking as an insult. An offer is information. It tells you what at least one qualified buyer is willing to pay for in today's market. That doesn't mean you have to accept it. But before rejecting it, ask, how long has the property been listed? How many serious buyers have come through? What have comparable properties actually sold for? Are there other interested parties? And if we reject this offer, how likely are we going to receive something better? Sometimes rejecting the offer is absolutely the correct decision. Other times, a counteroffer could create a path toward an acceptable agreement. The second mistake is negotiating against a future buyer who doesn't exist. I often see sellers reject a realistic offer because they believe someone else will eventually pay more. That could happen, but the seller should understand the cost of waiting, including mortgage payments, property taxes, strata fees, maintenance, and the possibility that the market moves further against them. Waiting is also a negotiation decision, and it comes with a risk. Before entering any negotiation, I look at 5 things. Number 1, how many comparable properties are available? 2, how long has the property been on the market? And 3, has price already been reduced? 4, are there other serious buyers? And lastly, how motivated are the buyer and seller? The final point is often the most important and the hardest to see from the listing. A seller may have already purchased another home. A buyer may need to move before the school starts. A seller may be perfectly comfortable waiting 6 more months. A buyer may look for 2 years and finally found the right property. The person with the strongest leverage is often not the person with the most money. It is the person with the best alternatives and the greatest ability to walk away. So is Vancouver a buyer's market? In some segments, buyers clearly have more leverage. In other situations, the sellers still control the negotiation. This is why I believe negotiation market is the more useful description. The opportunity today is not simply about buying cheaply or to hold out for yesterday's price. The opportunity is to understand the specific property, identify where the leverage actually sits, and structure a deal that solves the priorities of both sides. For buyers, that may simply mean obtaining better protection, more favorable terms, or a realistic discount. For sellers, it may mean recognizing that a clean, secure offer can be more valuable than waiting indefinitely for the perfect number. The strongest negotiations are really about one side winning and the other side losing. They are about discovering what matters most to each party and building an agreement around it. The Vancouver housing market is changing, but the biggest change may not be where prices go next. It may be how deals are actually getting done. So whether you are buying or selling, do not simply rely on broad headlines such as buyer's market or seller's market. Your negotiating position depends on the specific property, the competition, the timing, and the terms you can offer. And those details can easily be worth tens of thousands of dollars. Let me know in the comment below. Are you seeing sellers becoming more flexible, or do you think their expectations are still too high? And if you are considering buying or selling in Greater Vancouver and would like to know and understand your negotiating position, my contact information is in the description below. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video, or better call Mike.